Okay, so we've got the camera box assembled, and we've got our finishing hinges inside along the edges all on. I did decide that here on this piece here that I would not put any finishing hinges. It just made it too thick. So I inked it. I took my distress ink and just inked the edges really good. You could also use a black Tim Holtz Ranger stain and do that on the inside and the outside, because we're going to cover this with paper. So ink those so that the edges are black, and then we're going to cover the different sections with paper. I've pre-cut my paper, but I have my ruler here so that I can give you the dimensions of that. And I've already did the one on the inside. Can you see there? And that one was cut at about 7 3/4 so that it would fit in there by 3 3/4. And then I used quick dry adhesive, Scotch quick dry glue, put it on the back of the paper, placed it down in there, and then burnished it really well with the bone folder, and then wipe any excess glue out. So I've already done the one on the bottom on the inside because it's kind of hard for me to do it on the camera. And then I went ahead and added the piece on the back, on the bottom I mean. And so this is the Say Cheese paper collection. This is a yellow stripe in there and a gray black stripe here on the bottom. And like I said, I've already cut the papers out, so we're going to start assembling this, covering these. And you want the papers to leave just a little edge of the black. So for the back, I decided to use the stars. And this piece measures 7 7/8 by 7 7/8. And you do want to ink the edges of your papers before you put them down. Sometimes I forget, don't mean to, and then I have to do it with the papers on. It's just much easier. If you have these new little inkers by Tim Holtz Ranger, you can just ink with the little pad. I leave several stacked together. It makes it easier to hold on to. Or you can use the foam adapter, which kind of gives you a more, how do you say it, more blended edge, kind of with a little bit of the black coming over on the edge. So I kind of like that better. So ink all 4 sides of your paper. That way it covers the white edge that you have cut and just makes it look more finished. So I'm going to lay this down like this. Next I take my glue. And now what I did was, when I was cutting these to see where I liked it, I did apply some temporary adhesive, My Stick repositional adhesive, so I could stick it on and see how it looked while I was deciding on my paper. So that's why you're going to see, I don't know if it shows in the camera, on the paper a little bit of adhesive. It just rubs right off. But for permanent attachment, I do use the glue. And again, this is Scotch quick dry glue. And I just squeeze it out a little bit along the edges and some in the middle, in kind of a squiggly line. And these are stars, so they don't have a right and wrong direction. And just position it so that it's pretty even at the top and on the sides here. Little move. The reason I like the glue is you can move it just a little bit before it really attaches, before it's glued down. So wipe the edges, and then I like to take my longer bone folder and just really rub the edges and across so that there's no bubbles. Okay, on the corners, make sure those corners stick good. If you need to apply a little bit more glue, go ahead and do that. Now you can use an ATG gun adhesive if you like, or your score tape. I just prefer the glue because, like I said, I can move it, slide it a little bit if I need to, and always wipe up any extra glue that comes off. So there we got those attached down. So that's the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the inside. So I have 2 pieces of stars that are cut for the inside side panels. And these measure 3 3/4 wide by 7, and made these a little bit shorter so it fit in there. 7 3/4. So again, we're going to ink these up. I'm going to go ahead and ink both of them at the same time. Okay, and again I'm going to use the glue. Now I have already positioned these in and made sure that they fit, but before you attach yours or add adhesive, just make sure, do a double check before you add the glue or adhesive that they do fit, that you don't need to trim them off any on the sides or the length of that. And then just slip it in there, turn it on its side, and position it. And I have a shorter bone folder if I need it to get down in there. Burnish that really well. Get all the glue spread out evenly so that it sticks down really good. Okay, and now the other side, I'm going to make sure that it is cut right. This may be just a little bit wide on this one side, so I'm going to trim it down and re-ink it just a little bit. Okay, that's better. I trimmed it just on one side, so I just need to real quickly ink that. And then add the glue. Now you don't have to do yours exactly the patterns that I did or where I put them, but in your kit, if you purchase the kit, the papers, you do have more of certain papers to add them to the box like I did, so especially the stars. You could flip it over and use the other side if you liked, but I really like the stars like that. It's cute. Okay. See, next is going to be the inside back, inside here, and that is also 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. So let's add some ink. So anytime if you have any questions on these kits and tutorials, feel free to contact me on my blog, and I will shoot you an email back to answer your questions. You could also find me on Facebook. I have a page for Sandy's Crafty Creations, and then my personal Facebook, so you could friend me, and I would be happy to chat with you about any problems that you might be having with the construction of this. It's really, really easy though, so if you follow the written tutorial, which I wrote to go with the video here, and watch the video, I think you won't have any problems. Okay, we'll add some glue. And again, the nice thing about the stars is it has no direction, so it can go either way, and since it's a square, you're not going to goof up with that. So just make sure it's at the top where you want it and on the sides. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over and reach in there and burnish that to make sure it sticks down. Okay, I really like that on the inside. So now we got to cover this side too. Now this is a little bit more tricky because we're going to have to cover this piece here, which I think I was calling the viewfinder, but it's not really, it's the flash. So this would be the flash of your camera. The little viewfinder would be here, and the shutter button is going to go down here. So this is our flash piece. So we're going to need to cut that to fit, and I'm going to put the stars on that side also. Now I've already done one side, so what you need to do is measure and cut your paper so that it is taller. So you're going to have to pay attention on which direction you're putting it in. You want 8 1/4 inches tall by the 7, and I went ahead and did 7/8 wide, 7 7/8 wide, because that's going to fit down in here. But before we cut it, put some temporary adhesive on it so that you've got it stuck down where you've got your edge where you want it, and then flip it over. Take a pen or a pencil and mark along the flash there. I want to say shutter again, and along the top edge. So just cut your line, draw your line, then take your scissors, and to the inside of that line just go ahead and cut. So I've already done this side. I'm going to cut right just along the inside edge of that line, and then position it to see that it's going to fit the way it needs to. See there, like that. So I'm going to need a little more cut off here so that you can see more of the black. And then take it down just a little bit more on this side here, like. So I'm doing my cutting and measuring first, and then I will ink it. So that one needs to be straightened up just a little bit. Okay, now let's ink that edge good. Inking is wonderful. It hides any little mess ups, boo-boos, what have you. A little more ink. Okay, now let's add the glue. And line it up on the top here. There we go. Burnish. Okay, I think I need to reposition mine just a little bit. I have it too far up. That means I'm going to have to add a little more glue, because once I peeled it up, some of that had dried. But you see how you still have a little bit of wiggle room to reposition something if you need to, and that's okay. So I'm going to put it back in this time, and see right here along this edge, upper edge, I needed to position it. think what it is I need to cut a little bit more on this one side. And ink that up. Let's see if I still have enough glue. Stick it in there so that this edge has black. Yeah. Okay. And if you don't have enough glue here on the top, just make sure you add some extra. You want that paper to stay stuck down. You don't want it popping up on you when you take your mini album or mini albums in and out. Okay. There we go. Now the inside is done. Can you see that? Let me bring that down. There we go. We have the inside done. So we did the back. Let's do this piece next, which I'm going to use this red dot like that. I like that. And now this is the same principle. Put some of your temporary adhesive on so that it would position it and hold it down where it needs to be. Okay. Let's bring this up a little bit more. So you just want a small edging of this black at the top. So the temporary helps hold it in place. Oops. Where it needs to be, from side to side and up and down. So you're going to have an edge at the bottom and on the sides. I think I'm going to little move this away. Okay. Okay, once you got it on that you like, flip it over so you can mark with your pen your lines and the edge. So right along the lash and the straight edge of the box, peel that off so you've got a line drawn, and let's cut that out. Now we want to go to the inside because we do want a little of the black to show. Okay. So let's position that and see how that looks on the front. It's pretty good. I think this side needs a little more further down, maybe there. This side I wanted to cut. Yeah, I think that'll work. Now let's ink that. I just noticed a little spot here that was kind of sticking up from the hinge, so I'm going to add some glue, press that down. So you do want to be sure and check your corners, make sure everything is sticking down. If you have to add some glue to that, it is not going to hurt. These corners, you just don't want it peeling up on your hinges. Also, one trick, if you didn't get it covered really good, maybe you have a little bit showing of the chipboard at the corners, just take a black Sharpie and color that in to color any of the gaps that you might have accidentally had. Maybe with measuring, see like right here on the corner where that comes together. I'm just going to add a little bit of black in there, and you won't even notice once the paper's on. Okay. So now let's stick this piece on the front. Wipe off any glue and burnish it so that the corners stick really good. Over just a little bit. Okay. Now then, let's put a piece here, and I decided to go with this little piece that has the yellow stripes that will match the ends. So this one is cut one and 7/8 wide by 7 7/8 long. So that's going to fit just like that. So let's ink it up. Let's see, do I like it that way? Or this way? I think I like it that way, the way I originally planned. So we'll just go ahead and put the glue on. Oops. All right. Cloth. A little bit too much glue there, so I'm going to wipe that down. Here to use I like to use a soft towel. I think it's a bar towel. I think I bought a whole package of them like at Sam's or Costco. And then I just rub that in there. So there, any excess glue on the edges have been wiped up. Okay, there's that. And let's do this side pieces. I've already cut one out, but I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm using the stripe. So to cut this, I measured and got my width and my height. So I cut out a piece of this yellow stripe that is 7 7/8 tall by 6 inches wide. So I get 2 sections out of a piece of paper. And then again, I'm going to take my temporary adhesive and just add some on a bit on the sides and the bottom. And go ahead and position this on to where I want it, the top and on the sides. That. Press that in so it sticks. It's a little bit too, there we go, let's move it down just a tad. Okay. Get that the way you like it. And again, you're going to flip it over and you're going to draw lines to cut this excess out. So we'll draw one here and a line here. And take that off and cut just into the inside piece of the line. So we're cutting out this little rectangle piece here to get our L shape of the paper. I don't cut very straight with my scissors. So if you have that problem, you might want to use your trimmer on part of this. But I'm going to ink it, so it should be okay. So let's get plenty of ink on our applicator. And ink that in the corner there. Make sure you hit all the edges with ink. And I don't know if I said earlier, using the black soot. I'm just using the mini ink pad. Okay. That one goes there. So let's go ahead and glue that one on. Burnish, and take your towel and wipe off any of the excess along the edges here. There's that side. And you'll do the other side the exact same way. I've already cut mine, so you will do it the exact same way. I think I need to add a little pen ink right here in this corner, so that's covered up. Down here on this one. Okay. Make sure you put the glue on the side that you want facing down on the box. Don't put it on your... Though all the papers are pretty, if you've cut this out a certain way, you want to make sure that you're putting the glue on the right side, on the side that's supposed to be down. So let's put this here. Okay, my video camera card was full, so I had to switch it out. So I'm back. So I have this side attached. I hope that I wasn't off camera a lot. So you can see that we have the inside covered. We have the back, the bottom, both sides, and this front piece and this top piece. So all we have left to do now is this piece with the slot. So this can be a little tricky. Let's see, I cut out the red to go here, and we need to ink that first. Let me give you the measurements. Sorry, it is 7 7/8 by 3 1/4. So let's ink that up. Now we're going to have to cut the paper out for our slot. So what I want you to do is take your 1/4 inch score tape and apply it to the top edge of this slot that we cut out of our chipboard. Top and the bottom. This is so that you don't have to worry about getting glue right there, and you know that it's going to have a really good stick along this edge where you're going to be sliding your little polaroid camera piece in and out for display. So we'll put that on there, and then I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. That piece does not want to come off for me. So if that happens, just get your knife, craft knife, peel up on that. I don't do this with my knife all the time because I have a tendency maybe to cut myself if I'm not careful. because you have to put the lid cap back on, and then I don't, and I lay it down and put my hand on it. Okay, we have that. We're going to take our piece and we're going to put glue along the outer edges. And just a little bit, leave that space uncovered with glue right there. Okay. Let's position this over here. Let's look at your paper and make sure you have your, I didn't tell you on this one, but the little letters and numbers so that they're going the right direction. So put that on. Wipe off any excess glue. Let's make sure our edges and corners are stuck really good. Okay. Now we're going to have to cut that out with a knife. And I know you're like, oh, where is it? I can't see it. Well, I'm pressing down on it so I can see, and I get a little cut in here. Now, I can see it, see the edge there? I made a little groove. I can see it because I rubbed that. Now, this doesn't have to be totally perfect because we're going to be covering it with another piece of paper that's going to hide any of those rough edges. We just need to get an opening with our paper. And you might even have to use your scissors if you're more comfortable with that to cut that paper that way. See, I can see the ridge right there. And I want to get that cut off. I'm just cutting that paper where that slot is. Now probably if I had known what paper I wanted, I could have cut this paper before assembling the box. But at that point I hadn't decided. So I just went ahead and did it because it's easier to cut the chipboard for sure, the slot, before you actually assemble the box. There we go. Okay. Let's see, this piece is going to fit over it, but we do have to punch out, and I use a Stampin' Up! Punch, and sometimes I have to do it several times. So this is a scrap of black cardstock, and cut your piece about 5 inches long by 1.5 inches wide. Okay, let's put these knife up right quick. Now lay this here, center it the best you can, and on one side I'm going to mark here and here so I know the length. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line straight across. This is going to be the back side, so it's okay with the lines. If you use a Sharpie, you can see it on the black pretty good. So draw that line, like that. And then I want this to fit over it this way. So I'm going to draw me a line just in. Make sure it's all even. Use your lines on your ruler to make sure it's even. Draw a line here. And then another line here. Now this, if you do not have, make sure that's straight. If you do not have a punch, then you can cut with your exacto knife and cut out this area right in there, okay? So let me grab my punch. This is the punch that I use. It has the rounded edge. I forget the name of it. I'll look it up and put that in the tutorial. Hopefully it's still available from Stampin' Up. Now I'm going to take my line, put it in straight, punch. So then you realign this up. Hopefully I can do this without having to cut more than once, more than one piece. Hi, Quentin. My cat Quentin just came in. Like that. And then down to the next line. Just want to line that up. And I need just a tiny bit more on the end, I think. Let me see. I think that'll work. Well, now I'll just do a little bit more to make it more balanced. What was I thinking? Okay, so just a little bit more, and hopefully I don't mess that up. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so now see in here I have some chipboard that's kind of showing, so I'm going to just try to cut that out. That ragged edge. Can't quite. If you have a piece of sandpaper that's not on a, you can sand some of this out, rough edges, but it really doesn't show once you put this piece on. So then wipe that off, and then you're going to position this so that it fits like that. So I still think I need some of this out right here, because I don't want any of it hanging down where you can see it. So just very carefully with your knife, just cut away a little bit, and then check it out again. Okay, I think that'll work. So let's take some glue. Put it on the back side, which is a sign with my pin marks. I think I got too much glue right there. So let's position this. Okay, a little bit there. Wipe off any excess glue. And that is your polaroid slot. Okay? Okay. Now down inside, I should have inked that inside, so I will probably take a pen or something and fill that in. But once the glue dries, I think that it will be mostly black in there, so not to worry. That should be covered up in there just fine. We'll ink that later, or I will. Now then, the polaroid piece is a piece of chipboard, and I've cut the papers for it, but let's, I think we pre-cut this. This is your polaroid piece, which is 8 inches tall by 3 3/4 wide, and it will just slide into the slot. It's just for display. You can take it in and out. And so I decided to use the black stripe on the back side, and this is cut exactly the same, 8 inches by 3 3/4. So I'm going to ink that up. And glue it on. And then the other side. And I decided to use the stars, so this is also cut the 8 inches long by 3 3/4 wide. And get the ink on that. Okay, and glue this one on. Excuse me. Stick this one down on this side. Now, because this is showing, you're going to need to ink the edges. What is it, Quentin? Huh? What is it? Ink the edges of the chipboard. He probably wants to go outside. If you just wait a minute, Quentin, I'll take you outside in just a few minutes. So let's ink this up really good on the chipboard so that the chipboard edges are all inked up. And so you're going to get extra on your paper, and that's okay. The chipboard really black on the sides. Okay, a little more here. Okay, this is the way it will go, like this. Now we're going to decorate that. So for now, I'm going to stop this video.